Trying to find a place I went wrong. I got a couple problems, but I'll make it alone. I can't right all my wrongs, but I can write them in songs.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Cave.
Season 3, y'all.
We appreciate everybody who's still rocking with us. You know, it's been a little break, but I'm excited to be back. You excited to be back?
I'm very excited to be back, man.
We've been going a little while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but not as long as last time though.
Right, yeah, that year hiatus. I'm not gonna say it'll never happen again,
But
let's hope it don't happen.
again. That one was very unprecedented.
Yeah.
But you know, we back, and this season y'all should be expecting a lot of different things from us.
We got some things coming.
Yes,
we got some things cooking.
Exactly.
Like they say, Chef Curry with the pot.
Let them cook.
Yeah, let them cook.
Let them cook.
Let us cook. That's all we're gonna say. We got a lot of stuff coming for y'all in this season, but we really gonna go ahead and get into what we talking about today. What we talking about? You tearing that cookie up?
That cookie hitting, boy. I'm so hungry. It make no sense. But so we're gonna talk about today is when the people who are supposed to protect you fail. What do you mean by that, Jared? Oh, give me a scoop of water.
Do your thing. Do your thing. I think that's an interesting topic. I remember we picked this one a while back, and so I guess the first thing is to ask, who are we talking about, right? Who is it that's supposed to be protecting us? You know, who are the people who are supposed to protect us when we fail? And so when we're saying that, we're talking about our parents, we're talking about our friends, we're talking about our pastors, we're talking about romantic partners, we're talking about, I want to say I hate everybody just about, you know, or whoever falls into one of those categories. Those are the people who are supposed to protect you. You know what I'm saying? Romantic partners, you know, they protect your heart. You know, your friends, they protect your heart as well. They protect your reputation, you know, and parents and so on and so forth.
Yeah. And I really think there's a lot of people who don't necessarily know what their protection feels like,
right? From
friends or from family or from this person or that person, or you know, one you said, you know, your pastors, but the church in general is supposed to protect you.
Fact,
and a lot of the times people don't experience that protection. So like in each one of those scenarios, those people who are supposed to protect you, describe some of them. We're gonna start with parents. What are some ways that parents are supposed to protect you, but they could possibly fail?
Man, I think parents are one of the most important, because like with parents, they're your first layer of protection from the world, right?
Always.
Like when Drake said, I wasn't hiding my kid from the world, I was hiding the world from my kid. You know what I'm saying? Put me on an album, Drake, if you ever see this.
Come on, Apostle Drake.
But I think the important thing is, you know, parents, they protect you from different things. You know, they teach you right from wrong. You know, well, they're supposed to. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like when you're a kid and you want to run in the parking lot and your parents like, nah, you got to hold my hand. You know what I'm saying? As a kid, you don't understand the parameters that they putting you in. It's like, oh, they trying to kill my fun. You know, they won't let me go to this place. They won't let me hang out with these people. They won't let me stay the night at these people's houses. But it's like they're trying to protect you from certain things. They're trying to protect you from being exposed to things that you shouldn't be exposed to, you know, at such an early age. Or like even when parents be like, oh, you know, wait till you get married to have sex. You know, and it sounds like, well, I got to do that. Everybody else doing it. You know, but it's protection. And I think one of the ways that parents can fail is when they don't set you up for success. And that's a different form of not protecting somebody, because it's like when you it's like if you have a child and we see this a lot these days. You let them just grow up lawless. There are no rules, no boundaries. They have no respect. You are doing that child a disservice, because then years down the line, you're going to be crying when something happens to the child, or when they get in a situation that they can't get themselves out of, or, you know, God forbid, they get killed, you know? And it's like, as a parent, your job is to protect them from themselves at an early age. You protect them from the world and you protect them from themselves. You know what I'm saying? And when you fail, like I said, or sometimes you can fail by allowing them to be in an abusive situation. When you have blended families, and you might have a stepdad who beating the fire out the son, you know, or just different situations like that.
Yeah, And I completely agree. To add on to that, because you hit so many different topics, I'm like, dang, be something for me. But no, but no. Another good one though is like when parents fail to explain what they're protecting their child from. A lot of the times they think, that saying ignorance is bliss, ignorance is not bliss. There's nothing blissful about ignorance whatsoever, because it can leave room for a lot of error. It can leave, room for the devil to play, pretty much. Mm-hmm. So where there's ignorance, and they don't know any better, you try to protect them from it, but like now they try to go behind your back because they want to see, what it is. Because your parents be like, don't have sex in marriage. Well, why not have sex in marriage? Maybe we'll find out. Mm-hmm. Because you some of these kids right here bad. But like.
Were you a bad kid?
I was pretty mischievous. Okay, I was pretty bad, but it was.
You're honest.
Yeah, I was honest. I was pretty bad. But a lot of that protection looks a lot like explaining to them, teaching them things that might be uncomfortable, but like it's better you teach them than the world.
Right.
Because like for example, like you say, we walking across the street, hold my hand and stuff of that sort. And the child may not understand it, like, why can't I go do this? Why can't I do that? And then why don't you just tell them, because, instead parents will be like, you can't trust everybody. Mm-hmm. Now you're teaching that child trust issues, because between the ages 3 and 4 in Erik Erikson's stages of development, this is when I learned in psychology class, this man, around that age is when you start to learn trust and mistrust within children. So, and I think that's the right age. I double check for y'all. But yeah, trust versus mistrust. Like around those stages is when they start to learn who they can trust and things of that sort, and and work that muscle in their brain and stuff of that sort. But fucking rambling. But
no, yeah, I think you on it. But I guess my question would be, give us a situation where your parents, I'm not gonna say they failed to protect you, but a situation where they could have failed to protect you in your life, or what in your mind felt like they weren't protecting you.
Well, it's kind of hard to say, because Mama would explain things to me. She would, of course, she didn't let me go nowhere. Like. She's always beat my behind, so I guess one I could say, but it wouldn't be fair, was when I was taken advantage of. But at the same time, it's not fair to her to say that she didn't protect me, because like she did everything in her power. She was only one person. She did the most that she could do, per se. And on top of that, it was a trusted family member. So it's like, how are you supposed to, excuse me, and it's like, how are you supposed to like know stuff like that? Especially when like this family member has no prior history of anything type thing. So I don't even want to. It's kind of hard to say. I might have to circle back to that one. I have to get on some more thought, but yeah.
So in that situation, when you were a kid, did it feel like she didn't protect you in that situation? Not so much how of course you can see it for what it was now, but in that moment, how did it feel?
I didn't feel like she didn't protect me. I felt like the rest of the family didn't protect me. Because things hit the fan, or whatever. My grandmother, sweet lady, very sweet lady. She was like, you need to what's behind. I'm like, I didn't do anything. Like, why I need to go get my behind beat? Mama didn't do anything but just hold me, though. Yeah. Just hold me and let me cry it out. So I don't necessarily say her. I would just say like everyone else, because everyone else is kind of just like, the blame is on both of them. But like, I'm a child. Yeah. So what about you, sir?
I guess like you said, there are different situations in my life where at the time it felt like it was, like I wasn't protected, but in retrospect, I clearly was. I just didn't understand. I think that's why the explanation piece is so big, because I used to like to run the streets. When I first got my car, I'd be everywhere. Now, was I necessarily doing bad things? Not all the time. I mean, I had my time now, but not all the time. A lot of times I was hanging out with these clowns. You know what I'm saying? But it would just be, they'd be calling my phone, where you at? Come home. And I felt
used to
like
be so heated.
I used to be drove, but in my mind, I felt like, well, this isn't fair. I felt like they were failing in an area of giving me my freedom, and it felt like they weren't, protecting me because it honestly felt like they were just babying me, and I couldn't see it for what it was back then. But other than that, I don't really think there was a situation where they just didn't protect me. They always did the best that they could. And I think that that's important, because a lot of times hindsight really is 2020, because it can feel one way in the moment, and then, you grow up and you're like, nah, they really had my back. I just couldn't see it,
Yeah, so that's beautiful. But in hindsight, our parents did the best they could to protect us. Yeah, it was just us, and on top of that,
it was bad. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
We just bad, and so that's why I always say it's best for parents to really, really talk to their children. Children understand way more than you think, right. And a lot of the stuff that goes on around them affects them way more than you think. So just be more attentive.
So how do you feel about romantic partners? Because I can tell, I can write a book on that one. You know what I'm saying?
Hey.
And this is no shade, but it just is what it is.
It's what it is.
What are your thoughts on that? Did they fail to protect you, and in what way? What were they protecting? Any thoughts?
I'm just, this might sound bad, but whatever. Sorry to that person. That wasn't no real romance. It wasn't it. It wasn't a real romance. It wasn't no real relationship. It wasn't giving nothing. So, I don't even know how to answer that, but I just know how to answer generically. I guess in that situation, because your romantic partner is supposed to protect your heart, like you said. Right. Supposed to protect your feelings. Allow you to feel vulnerable. Allow you to feel like you can be yourself, love freely. Teach you. This is what teach you. Catch the air quotes, people who listening. Teach you how to love. Per se, in a safe space. They're supposed to be people always be like, be my safe place, whatever. The Lord is your safe place. Amen. But no, for real though, be their safe place per se. You can take the mic on this one, my boy.
I would say, they definitely. I've never had a romantic relationship where my vulnerability was protected. And that was the way that they failed me, to put it into words. Well, I did put it into words, but to put it into more words, I would say I never had the space where I could be authentically myself. I never had the space where I could display my emotions and be emotional and be an emotional creature. Because all people are emotional creatures, despite what people say. They just kind of show them differently. So I would definitely say my vulnerability was not protected. And so it kind of was just left to the wolves. And here's the thing. I'm not putting the blame all on my romantic partners over the years, because I definitely had my part to play in it. You know what I'm saying? Because always part of your protection, of course, you expect other people to protect you, but you also, to a measure, have to protect yourself. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
I just say, because you ain't married, so.
Yeah, right. But I would definitely say that my vulnerability was not protected. And I like that you actually said that, because it made me think. I was going to say something else at first, but I think the biggest thing was vulnerability. And what I had to realize was that everybody doesn't deserve your vulnerability. You know what I'm saying? You can't trust everybody with your vulnerability. And what I think for me, what my people failing to protect me did, it messed up my trust. And it messed up the way that I view vulnerability.
Oh, that was beautiful.
That was real beautiful. Depending on how you look at it.
Pretty tragic.
I'm better now.
A beautiful tragedy, but I would definitely say that is also what allowed me to get into situations like that, because I was the type of person who wear my heart on my sleeve at all times, and first person to catch it, you got it. You know what I mean? Just tossing that mug around. That's why I was all tore up and raggedy. But yeah, I think that's why got me in that situation in the first place. Because I was just like, anybody that gives me some type of comfort, some type of love, attention, security, or whatever. You could be that for me. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of just like, I won't necessarily say it wasn't protected, but it definitely failed completely.
No, I feel that.
Completely. On both ends.
I definitely feel that. And it's funny because, when it comes to protection, it looks so different in different situations. Mm-hmm. And like I've been in situations where I've been around one person who's friends with somebody else that I know, and like it'd be in a room full of other people, mm-hmm. and they're not protecting their friend, even though their friend is not there. And I think that's a big thing, protecting your friend's reputation and their character and their integrity. To me, you're not protecting somebody if you sit in a room where like everybody talking. Like if I'm sitting in a room mm-hmm. and everybody talking crap about you, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, I'm not gonna say anything. And I'm not saying that you have to jump up and be like, y'all better back up off my friend, or I'm gonna unload the clip on you. I'm not saying that. You know what I'm saying? But a simple like, hey, you could talk about his past, but don't talk about who he is now, because you don't know him. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And you might want to even keep the past limited. You know what I'm saying? Because I might click out. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's small things that equate to protection. And I don't really, I've had essentially the same friend group my whole life. And I know that y'all have always protected me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I know that I've always protected y'all, mm-hmm. to the best of my ability. As far as I know. You know what I'm saying? What do you think about that in like platonic friendships?
Well, first of all, that was something I had to learn in high school. Because in high school, like, I was just like the person who was just like cordial with everybody. Like, everybody always had some type of beef in high school. And, like, that was my close friends or whatever. And sometimes I would hear something said or whatever. And I was just like, that's not what happened. But I won't say nothing because then I'm going to be in it. And I don't want to be in nothing. So I didn't necessarily know back then. It was like, freshman, sophomore year type thing. And then one time, Deshay, she was, because, me and her and Elizabeth was real click type. Mm-hmm. And like somebody said something about Elizabeth, and Deshay was like, what you not gonna do is this and that. And I'm like, oh. And I was just like, okay, so now I get it now, because I had to have somebody show me that. Because I've never been like I've never physically seen it or even had that up until that point type thing. So I would say that there were a lot of situations where I had to protect my friends' reputation mm-hmm. and things of that sort or whatever going forward. And there were even times when, of course, my friends questioned that, because it was just like, how you still, this and every day person, yada, whatever. And I'm just like, and I'm just like, you don't know what I do. You don't know what I say. I don't tell you everything, because once I protect you and I stand in front of that, it's not my job to keep bringing that back to you. Mm-hmm. Not my job to keep saying, oh, this is being said, that's being said. I already know what you're going through already. Enough of what you deal with. So why would I bring that to you? Yeah. Instead, I would just handle that and leave it be. And then eventually, after a while, it started to piss me off. Because I don't like when people try to speak to somebody that they don't know at all. Like, I know this person. Like, to their core. You don't know crap about them. Shut up. That's that. That's how I feel about that. Protect your friends.
I feel that, you do have to protect people, because if you don't have, if I don't have his back, who gonna have it? You know what I'm saying? If he don't have my back, who gonna have it? Of course we have other friends, but you got to be covered on all fronts.
Come on now.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that just kind of goes back to protection being messy sometimes.
Yes.
Because it can be ugly, and a lot of times it don't always look like how we want it. A lot of times we might want people to jump up and unload the clip, and some of your people might do that.
Yeah.
If that's your thing, I wouldn't advise it. But, sometimes it does look like that, but a lot of times it look like what you just said, like, hey, you'll need to be speaking on that. Mm-hmm. Or it might look like I'm going to distance myself from this person. Or a lot of times it looks like boundaries.
Yes.
And it looks like parameters. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and sometimes when you put those parameters up, like, those other people end up leaving because they don't understand boundaries. They don't understand parameters and things of that sort.
Mm-hmm. And I heard a quote. It was saying... And this is kind of going back to parents and it just being, messy. I'd rather you lay across this bed for a whipping than be laying dead in the street.
Come on.
By somebody else's hand, you know, and I think, you know, going back to our original question, you know, of, you know, what do you do when the people who are supposed to protect you fail? I think that there are multiple answers to that, and I may be jumping ahead of myself, you know.
I don't think so.
But I think that one of the first things that you should do is reconsider your circle. Because a lot of times you may not understand their version of protection, or there may be no protection. You know what I'm saying? The second thing, I would say to adjust. Because there are situations in life that you can't control, and that the people around you may not have been able to control either.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you just get the shorter end of the stick, but you have to make the adjustments later on down the line, you know, to where it's like, in a practical sense, let's say, you know, maybe, I'm trying to think of a good example. Maybe I can't even think, I actually lost my good example, but that's cool. I'll pivot to something else. But, you know, you really just have to adjust. You have to keep moving forward. You can't be stuck in that place of, I've been hurt. I've been messed over. You have to keep moving forward. That was Walt Disney's, one of his best quotes, keep moving forward, you know?
Yeah. So in saying that, you know, keep moving forward and like finding, you know, like better circles and adjusting and things of that nature, what would you say to like, and I know we'll probably like stand on this particular topic for a long time, but a lot of this stuff needs to be said. What is it like when you necessarily don't feel like the church protected you?
Oh man, that's a really big one, because honestly, I was that person who I felt like the church didn't protect me as a child. And this is no shade to my church. You know, I mean, I don't even go to them churches no more anyway. But, you know,
Sorry to the people.
I think the thing is, the way that they didn't protect me was that they allowed me to be ignorant about certain things. And luckily, I had a strong foundation at home that was not being reinforced in church. And so on one hand, a lot of the things that I wanted to hear in church, I didn't get. And so if I didn't get it at home, then I went and found it somewhere else, you know? And, you know, and unfortunately in church, there are a lot of taboo topics that people just won't talk about. Yeah. And I feel like that's a form of not protecting people, because now you're not protecting them from the evil that is the enemy. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that causes a lot of people to eventually leave the faith, whether it be church hurt or, you know, you've been abused by your leaders at your church, which I've seen before. And abuse is not always what you think it is. Sometimes it's working you like a slave.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? When you're supposed to be sitting under the word, you know, and it causes people to leave the faith. And like for me, that was something that I really had to work on and I really had to overcome. It was an area where I had to pivot my life, because I spent so much time in, well, they hurt me. They didn't do this for me. They didn't protect me. They didn't protect my innocence, you know, boom, boom, boom. But it was like, okay, all that's great. And all that may be valid. It may be true, but what are you going to do about it? You know what I'm saying? And I had to get to that place where I was like, I'm not going to be a victim anymore. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, because when you said that, made me think of a quote I heard, or rather seen. Let me stop saying I heard. I seen it on the internet. And then when it was like, there's no hate like church love. Because it was like, you know, the church is just so judgmental and just so aggressive and things like that. Because, you know, like that little church group who was on Southern campus and LSU campus, you know,
talking about if you smoke, you go into hell. You gay, you go into hell. Like you know, it was a lot. You teaching
fire and brimstone. The Bible literally says, you know, the greatest commandment is to love.
Right.
Why are you up here just spreading hate? That's not the gospel.
Right.
That's not gonna lead nobody to the Lord. Right. You tell them you going to hell. Well, I guess I'm gonna go over here to somebody who's gonna tell me I'm gonna go to heaven. You know, or I'm gonna go to somebody over here who's gonna teach me some form of happiness, some form of comfort. So I think like in that sense, I would say the church kind of failed me. because of course they was always telling different ways to go to hell, and they was talking about these many different people from the Bible, these many different stories and stuff, but they never really tied it back to home. What I'm supposed to get from it, I'm just learning these stories. I don't know what these stories is for, but as I got older, I understood, the stories to myself. But it's kind of like when I'm younger, you just not letting me know anything, like, and it's just like, get up in church, you say this part, you do this part, you do this role type thing, and just like there's no background information, nothing to go in depth. Like, you're a child, so we're going to teach you just this much because this is as much as you can understand, but it's not true. You should give the child the whole thing, the whole meal.
Right. And it's funny because it's just like a kid. If they can't handle the whole steak, you cut it into pieces.
There you go.
You
feed it to them in pieces, but you still give them the whole thing.
Right. And I think with that in particular, unfortunately, and here's the thing: we're not anti-church. We go to church.
We go to church. okay. Restoration Christian Center.
Right. But nothing is perfect. You know what I'm saying? And we're talking about childhood churches anyway. We're not even talking about the church we go to now. So don't get that twisted. We're very much pro-church. You need to go to church.
Exactly.
But you need to be in the right church.
There you go.
A church where they can protect you, because when you're not protected, you're easy prey for the enemy. And Satan's you're too easy. If you off by yourself with no layer of protection, no covering, it's too easy. It's not even hard. I got me one.
It's stupid easy, but I do love my old church, like, to death, because that's where my entire family has grown up for generations. Well, I think the church been there that long, but like for generations, and like even through all the screaming pastors where they just be up there just screaming down, and you don't know what they're screaming for. And the many different, like changes that it went through, like I still love it. I have so many fond memories of like singing in the choir, everything jumping and going, going good, but I still didn't feel fed there though, and so that's why I felt the need to move. So if you're not feeling that you're being protected or fed at your church, then find something else.
Right.
Move. Don't practical. Just let it go. But, but it leads into another thing though. Because in churches, and not only just in churches, but in not being protected in those many different areas, it could affect the way that you feel about vulnerability. It can teach you that vulnerability is weakness, and that you have to like put on this front or this mask, or not necessarily be so authentic. So like, what has helped you be more vulnerable after experiencing all those things?
Honestly, I had to build myself back up. Well, I'm not even gonna tell that lie. I didn't build nothing. okay. I probably aided in it being torn down, but I really had to root myself in something. A tree with no roots is bound to fall when the wind blows, and so I realized that I was a tree with no roots. Like I had very little roots, and they did not have the cultivation and the time put into them that they should have, and that that's about me. You know what I'm saying? So I really just kind of really dove in with the Lord. And you getting another cookie? Yeah. Do your thing. Do your thing. But I really just had to lock in with the Lord and understand, like, okay, if nobody else can protect me, then you can protect me. And He gave me the confidence to put myself back out there and be like, vulnerability is not a weakness. It's actually my strength if I use it right. I once heard somebody say, vulnerability is my superpower. Now, I wouldn't go that far. For me, it ain't my superpower, but it's on my utility belt. I'll say that. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good one.
And the Lord really affirmed me in who I am, and that no matter how many people try and pluck me out of His hand, He will always hold me there. You know what I'm saying? He might let something knock me over. You know what I'm saying? But He'll never let me be plucked out of it. And so that really just helped me put myself out there and just be like, well, the Lord got my back at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? And it helped me. And I also had to realize that people aren't perfect. They
are not.
And that's why I say it's so important to not focus on being the victim, but to focus on what you do after being the victim.
Come on.
Because if you're stuck on being the victim, then the Lord can't come in and be like, well, I should have been your foundation anyway. You know what I'm saying? I might let you get knocked down, but I'll never let you stay down. So that's kind of what I had to do to shake back,
Okay.
What about you?
I would definitely say therapy helped a lot.
That's good too.
Therapy was real good to me. Okay, go get you some therapy. 10 out of 10 recommend. 20 out of 10 recommend. A lot of y'all just need just one session at least. Please, I beg of you, go. But no, like even before therapy, because like, you know, I was always a very upfront person, always a very expressive person, but there was nobody to receive any of that. So I was just like, well, maybe I just need to stop, because people always told me like, that's not right, that's not natural, that's not normal, that's this, that's that. And I'm like, well, dang, like how was I supposed to be? So I learned about the liberation of vulnerability when I first was at the Beta convention.
Which one? We went to a million of them.
Okay, Jay, no, wait, no. Okay, when we was at the first Beta, I think it was the first one, and we sat there. Everybody was, well, first of all, we supposed to be up in the building. We wasn't doing what we were supposed to do. We was hiding and sitting in them chairs.
Sounds about right.
And we was just talking. And then, like, we talked about so much stuff, like so much personal, deep stuff. And I was just like, wow, I would have never known you was dealing with that.
Me?
Yes. And then
I was there.
Yes, me and you was talking.
Oh, all right.
That was the very first time we had actually had like a really deep conversation.
Tell me something though.
Jerry.
I don't remember that, but all right, go on.
Jerry.
I don't remember that.
Oh my gosh. When I tell you what the conversation was, you remember.
Say that all just in case. I don't know what it was.
I know. Yeah, we had this conversation and it was so liberating. Like we both felt so good after. I was like, you know what? This is something that I can definitely do. Like
my phone died.
I saw.
It's cool.
Oh, we're home. But yeah, like that's when I learned. I was like, you know what, this vulnerability thing is really, really, really good. Like even if I can't be this vulnerable with just this person this entire time, I at least need to find a way to do that. Which led me to writing, which helped me continue to cultivate that vulnerability even in private until I was ready to, do what it needs to does. But so this leads me to the last question because I know we're running buku over time. So my last question would be, how did it feel? Or how did it feel? Okay, I'm gonna word it. How did it feel when you felt as if God failed you? When God failed to protect you. There you go.
That's interesting.
Because a lot of people feel that way.
No, yeah, you're definitely right. A lot of people are angry at God and they don't know it because things have happened to them in their lives. Maybe they were abused as a child. Maybe their family split up. Maybe somebody close to them died of sickness or was murdered or was taken from them. Maybe they grew up in poverty. Maybe they grew up, whatever the situation is, there are a lot of people who actually resent God and they don't know it. I was that person.
Yeah.
Did not know it.
Me too.
And it's funny because I didn't have super major things happen in life, I was never shot. You know what I'm saying? I've never been to prison, but I guess, regardless, the things that did happen in my life, I felt like, well, God, I'm gonna speak to this one specifically because I mentioned it here on the show, like when my nephew passed, and I was like, well, Lord, hold on.
Hold the phone.
Right. Hold on. Everybody else, y'all hold y'all's prayers. We gotta talk. What happened? How could you let somebody that I love so dearly die? And I was crushed. And I carried that for years. And I never even knew it. And it's funny because when you're mad at God, you can't see him for who he is. You will think that he's malicious. You'll think that he's vindictive. You'll think that he wants to hurt you. You'll think that he loves everybody but you. You know what I'm saying? You'll be in church, oh, God is good all the time. And all the time, God is good, just not to me. You know what I'm saying? And you'll really be angry at him. And I think it's really just the disappointment. Because you feel like, well, if God is all loving and if God is all powerful, then nothing bad should happen to me. The Bible never said that. The Bible says that you will have trials and tribulation in this life.
Tell these people.
You know what I'm saying? The Bible also says that a righteous man falls, 7 times? But he keeps standing back up. You know what I'm saying? And I guess what I had to realize was that God always has your best interests at heart. And it may seem like he did not protect you, but he's always protecting you. And the funny thing, is that God is such a loving God. He will allow certain things to happen to you as protection.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't see things that way.
Let them cook, y'all. Let them cook.
And I think it's just so funny because protection, once again, it could be ugly sometimes. It may look like you're not going nowhere past 10 o'clock. But he might have saved your life because there might have been a shooting at the place that you was going at. And 10 people were killed. And you might have been standing in place of one of the other people who died that night. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so once I got that revelation and I realized that all things do really work together for the good of those that love him. You know what I'm saying? And once I internalized it and wrote it down on the inside of my heart and realized that God is good,
Mm-hmm.
that helped me get over that feeling of, oh, well, God didn't protect me. Now, he's always good, no matter what happens. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's one of the biggest things that you can learn from Job. So many things happened to him in his lifetime. Sickness, lost his money, his wife left. All those bad things happened to him, and he still was faithful. And he still knew that God was good. You know what I'm saying? And God blessed him tenfold. You know what I'm saying? And so when you really have to realize the type of God that you're serving, a lot of people feel like God doesn't protect them because they don't know him. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
It's just like your parent. Do you think your parent would ever put you in a situation where y'all in the store, y'all talking noise, your parents having an altercation with somebody else, and they be like, all right, I'm going to show you, son, get him. And you 4 years old, about to fight a 40-year-old man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Like, realistically, what parent would do that? Would I send my 5-year-old nephew to fight a 40-year-old man?
No.
But that's how we look at God. And then we be like, oh, I got punched in my eye. He didn't protect me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
God's not going to do that. That's just not him. That's not in his nature. But that's why perception is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you perceive it that way, then you believe it that way.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
No, I thought you was like, keep going. Come
Oh,
on.
no, I had to stop I had to reel it back in.
Come on,
'cause
Pastor.
I
All
was
right.
ready to keep going.
What I would say, I definitely felt that way. Spring 19. I'm always referencing Spring 19, y'all. That was probably the darkest whatchamacallit in my life.
Depression era.
Oh, let's not root that.
Well, no,
yeah.
rooting that we beat it.
Oh, amen.
Yeah,
Woo, thank you,
amen.
Jesus. On the other side. I definitely felt like because I literally said, I was like, God, the reason I'm going through this. Like, for what? This is stupid. And I was just like, man, like, how you so doggone cruel? Like, do you think this funny? Ha ha, kiki. I'm not laughing. but yeah, like, I had to really, really, like, learn God and learn who he was. And that comes through reading his word. Now, I know that be buku hard sometimes, y'all. Sometimes you don't feel like it. Sometimes you're really, really tired, or sometimes you may feel like it's boring. But when you really, really, really seeking God, like, it's something that you're going to find time for. And it's going to make sense. It's going to click. It's going to be good to you because, like, excuse me. Lord, try to take me out. Like, it's going to be good to you because, like, at the end of the day, you're getting to know him. You're getting to learn more about him. And so that's what I had to do because I was, I really used to be like, it's his fault that all this stuff happened, I used to be like, he's a real, how he gonna sit up here and say, he gonna do all this good stuff for us, but then he talk about all this other bad stuff. I'm like, that don't make any sense. But like, when you read the Bible, first of all, what came to mind when you was like, you need to know God? First thing that came out was Isaiah 55. I think this is verse 11. I'm not sure, but I know it's Isaiah 55 for sure. When and I'm not gonna say the whole verse, but this verse pretty much
just paraphrase.
Yeah, this verse is pretty much saying that his word does not come back to him void at all, like ever. And then if you go and read the Bible, you will see the many different promises that he gave to us. And he said that we will inherit the earth. And he also said that he will give us the desires of our heart. But he also said, seek first the kingdom, and then it will all be added unto us. Like,
right.
It's always an action that goes before the promise. But like people don't want to do. People just want a God that's gonna give them everything. Oh, you want a wonderful life? Here you go.
Right.
Oh my God, you're hurting. Let me just take the pain away real quick. But sometimes you have to go through that stuff,
right.
And that's what we don't understand. That's what we don't want to deal with, and so we just think God's not protecting us. But like you said, sometimes the protection can look very messy.
Right. It can be really ugly sometimes, and so, in a nutshell, when the people who are supposed to protect you fail, you adjust. You know what I'm saying? You accept it for what it is. Like I said, you reconsider the people who are around you, but you also have to reconsider your perception, reconsider your position, and then see what it is that you're going to do moving forward. Because people will fail you. Mm-hmm. Man is not perfect in any way. The only person who will never fail you and never not protect you is the Lord.
That's it.
You know, but you can't stay in that place. Your vulnerability is always precious, but it's not something that should be under lock and key. You know what I'm saying? But that's pretty much what we wanted to talk about. Did you have any last thoughts on it, or?
When people protect you, when the people who are supposed to protect you fail, don't sit there and play victim.
Yeah.
Get up. You know, do something about it.
Even if you are the victim, you sit there for a season, you grieve for a season, but you do have to move forward. So keep moving forward.
Definitely. So that's all we got for y'all. Anything else, Jared?
Nah, we out.
Yeah. Bye.
Trying to find a place I went wrong. I got a couple problems, but I'll make it alone. I can't right on my wrongs, but I can write them in songs.